Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 52 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles. I am here with Joey. Joey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Well, I wouldn't say great. I am missing two of our other co-hosts. It's been a crazy start to the summer for honestly every all of us.
Yeah,
So it's been even though we love talking about the finals, we all texted in our group chat. We're still getting opinions from everybody, even though not all of us can be present.
yeah. Jackson and Nick unable to be with us today. Nick, super busy trying to get that bread, and I don't blame him. Trying to get doing his summer job and early commute there. So, and Jackson visiting Columbus today to check out his one of his brother's baseball tournaments. So shout out to Jackson and all the Godwins out there. We'll hold it
Yes.
down for you guys here in this video. And yeah, man, game three of the 2024 NBA Finals just wrapped up, and it was definitely an interesting game. The Mavericks got off to an excellent start. It was pretty close through the whole first half, and the Celtics really took off in the third quarter. They went up by 21 points early in the fourth quarter. The Mavericks came all the way back, had it down to one, but then Luka Doncic fouls out, and the Celtics are able to pull away with the 106-99 victory to take a 3-0 lead in the NBA Finals, one win away from banner number 18 in Boston. Joey, what would you like to talk about first with this game? There's a lot of different areas we could go to.
There's a lot we can talk about, and I don't like talking about the Celtics because it just hurts my stomach to talk about how good they are. And I mentioned to you in the pre-pod lobby how they keep playing better. But I feel like we do have to talk about the Celtics. Like, I don't want to, but let's just get it out of the way. They played great tonight. They really did. Uh, Tatum finally went crazy in the first half, pretty much this entire game. We were talking in the pre-pod lobby how I was at one point I was like, "Oh, Brown's having a down game," and then and I'm like, "But Tatum's going off." No Porzingis, like Tatum is proven why he's a superstar. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game, Jaylen Brown and him both combined for like 60 plus points together, both having over 30.
First Celtics duo to go for 35-5 in the NBA Finals ever.
Wow.
Which, of course, in the long story history of the Celtics, that's an incredible stat right there.
100%. That is insane. Like you said, they're going for banner 18. They're one giveaway. Did you think they would sweep? Because that is a very real possibility now.
No, nobody did. Nobody did. I don't
No.
know anyone who thought that they would come away with a sweep in this series. And we'll get to previewing Game 4 later on in the podcast. But it's just been really impressive from the Celtics, who they've answered all the doubts really about everything, every sort of question that you could have on them so far. The big question coming into this series was if they would be able to rise to the competition that the Mavericks would bring, considering the first three opponents that they had played in the playoffs, and the injuries causing those opponents to not be at their full strength, and the Celtics not at full strength either without Kristaps Porzingis for most of the playoffs, who missed this game. We'll talk about how that impacted this game early on. But the Celtics, this is their 10th straight win in these playoffs, and a chance to go for the sweep on Friday night in Game 4. And it really did start with Jason Tatum for the Celtics, had 20 in the first half, while Brown only had 6. And then Brown 24 in the second half, most of those coming in the third quarter, and then had some big-time buckets in the fourth quarter, had that offensive rebound and putback when the Mavs had got it down to 1, the lead down to 1, and then with a minute to go, that pull-up jump shot to make it a 4-point game. Just big buckets down the stretch for Jaylen Brown and this Boston Celtics team. I think we should probably start with the beginning of this game, because the Dallas Mavericks, they came out and they were ready to go in this game. They looked very, very solid in the first quarter. When you look at what they were able to do attacking the basket early. That was the big thing early in this game was Kyrie and Luka attacking, getting good looks. Luka hitting the early three. That was his only make from downtown this game. But you see them attacking the rim and getting easy buckets. And Kristaps Porzingis being out for the Celtics, who's been such an incredible rim protector, that really opened up the paint for the Mavericks. Like you see Luka here just getting to the rim. That just does not happen if Porzingis is in the lineup. And I looked at the paint points in this game in the first quarter. The Mavericks outscored the Celtics in the paint 20-8. And that was huge to start this game.
Dang, I didn't even realize that. I did tell you, what I saw that dunk about Exum. I got out of my chair. I was like, oh, dang. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I was listening to the Unplugged broadcast with Kevin Hart, and Katino Mobley was on it, but they were saying, like, that's exactly what you do. You attack when Porzingis is out because he's been so effective. He missed most of the playoffs, didn't seem to bother any of the Celtics as they cruised, but this series, he's been so big for them. And clearly today, you could see, especially in that disparity in the points in the paint. And I mentioned it to you earlier. Derek Lively had a great conference finals, hasn't shown up in this series yet because KP's been so good. And today he had a double-double off the bench. Like, he was finally effective. He was attacking. He was screaming with confidence. Like, that's what you need out of your rookie. Just to get him going a little bit, get him that confidence. And they shined. I really hoped they would continue that, because then it turned into, like you said, Luka hit that 1-3 in the first quarter. He kept trying to step back three, which is usually insane, but he could not knock anything down. I was really hoping he would just continue to attack.
Yeah, so I think that immediately the Mavericks, they should be kicking themselves for how the end of that first quarter played out, because they were up 13 midway through the first quarter. They played a great first quarter, and they looked like they were going to, they honestly looked like they were going to steamroll to a victory the way they started, just getting inside a bunch of easy looks. The Celtics once again started out in a struggle from three-point range, but the end of that first quarter, Joey, you mentioned the step-back threes. There's some plays in the final minute of the first quarter from Luka. You see here, so Luka takes a step-back three short. He falls down complaining for a foul, and what happens? His guy Hauser gets an open three, back to three. The very next play, another step-back three, falls down, complaining about getting fouled, and what happens? They don't get back, and Tatum gets a wide-open dunk, and instead of being up 6 to end a great first quarter, it's only a 1-point lead after the first quarter. That's where I think it really started poorly for them.
Yeah, we can talk. We can talk later a little bit about how Luka and him complaining about fouls. Like, as big of Luka fans we are getting a little bit sick of it.
Yeah.
But 100% right. If KP's not there, you were attacking. They start to go on a little bit of a run. What do? Panic and just shoot step backs and threes. Hey, you're Luka Doncic. You can make that shot. I get it. But you're not. You're not. And it's bad shots. Like, just attack. Just attack. You're getting easy shots. Or when they collapse because they're so weak on the inside, then you can kick it out like you're so good at playmaking. You're such a good passer. Just do it. Like, it's not that hard to just drive in and kick out. It really isn't. He's been doing it ever since he got in the league.
Yeah, he made some incredible passes in both games 2 and 3. Like,
yeah,
he was spectacular playmaking through games 2 and 3. Interesting thing about something I wanted to keep track of. I kept track of a few things in this game because I saw a stat that in game 2 the Mavericks shot like 8% on wide open catch and shoot threes.
No, we talked about that after game 1 with Luke. I remember he couldn't make anything wide open.
Yeah, but so I was just curious about, how they would shoot and how the Celtics would shoot in comparison with all the threes. The Mavericks catch and shoot wide open threes. They took 5 in the entire game. The entire game, they were 2 for 5 on wide open catch and shoot threes off of penetration, non-isolation threes. They shoot 9 for 25 from distance in this game, and really all of them came in the isolation scenario, whether it's Kyrie shooting step backs, Luka, probably all of his threes were step backs today. It just, they were not getting up the threes. And we talk about all the time with the Celtics, the math. Sometimes you can just get out math. The Celtics, on their catch and shoot threes, they go 14 for 28. They shoot 50% on catch and shoot threes. They get up 23 more catch and shoot threes than your team. And it's not a recipe for success.
They had 28 catch and shoot threes today.
The Celtics did.
They shot more catch and shoot threes than the Mavericks did all game.
Total. Through all threes.
I was going to talk about how the Celtics ball movement was incredible today.
Oh my gosh.
But clearly that stat just shows it. Like 28 open threes doesn't even, I'll be honest, even if they just made 5 of them, because that's never going to happen again. You can't let them get 28 open threes. That's so bad.
Open threes on the catch. And I mean, open can be, I know the NBA stats, they may define it as a different sort of thing, but if you catch and shoot threes in your normal rhythm, I consider that an open enough shot. That's kind of how I consider it. And they got 28 in rhythm catch and shoot shots. Yeah. And they knocked them down for the most part. I mean, 17 for 46. I think JJ Redick talked about it a lot during the game when they went on the run in the third quarter. It was like, okay, the Celtics, they start out struggling from 3, but they didn't go away from who they are as far as getting up a number of threes, because eventually they're going to fall in. They didn't shoot the 3 ball well in game 2. It tailed off a little bit in the second half of game 1. You knew they were going to start to fall, and they did. I want to give a shout out to the Boston bench, who I thought all of them were fantastic in this game. Sam Hauser hitting threes. He had a couple, I think, all 3 of these guys that came off the bench.
Did I see big Xavier Tillman minutes?
Yes, you did.
I saw him out on the perimeter trying to guard Luke. I was like, wait a second. Big Xavier Tillman minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, all 3 of them, Tillman, Hauser, and Pritchard, I thought did a great job switching in isolation. They had huge defensive games, and then Hauser finally another good game shooting from 3. There hasn't been a lot of them these playoffs, even though he's such a great shooter, but 3 for 4 today. Tillman hitting his first 3 of the playoffs.
Oh, jeez.
Obviously hasn't played a whole lot, but he's someone that we mentioned when he was traded there from Memphis at the deadline. You mentioned that, he could have big moments in the playoffs just because we've seen his defense be very solid in those previous years with the Grizzlies in the playoffs. And it showed up here. Not a big game, but, I mean, big moments throughout the game.
Especially with KP out. You just need Al Horford. He's been playing great. I'm not going to knock him at all. Man's like 80 years old, still running around in the NBA Finals, hitting threes and getting boards and making layups.
You can't
and flinching at free throws, at free throw misses. But you still need a good just 5 to 10 minutes of rest for him. Even if you go small ball for another 10 minutes for Al Horford to get some extra rest, you just need Xavier Tillman to give him a couple good minutes of hustle, boards, and just a body there, especially the way Luka was playing and shooting. And like you said, we talked about it so much already, the disparity in the wide open shots. You just have to be in front of them. They're going to shoot it. Just have to contest it.
Yeah, that Tillman 3, he had all day to fire that one up there from the corner. The bench went crazy on that. But we talk about the Celtics bench. In contrast, the Mavericks bench, did next to nothing in this game besides Lively, which I don't. It's. I really don't consider Lively and Gafford. I kind of consider them both kind of starters because either one of them play starter minutes on given nights. But
Yeah.
the other guys, Jason Kidd went 11 deep in this game just to try to get some guys to have energetic minutes. Exum looked good, only played 2 minutes, had that crazy dunk. You could look at the plus minus and say it's a -4 in 2 minutes, but a lot of that is because of that final minute that I showed you the first quarter, and he really didn't have a chance.
Yeah, not even necessarily his fault at that point. Like, I
I
wish they would have played him a couple more minutes.
I wish he played more in these playoffs and in these finals for sure. I know Jackson would feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Green I thought was solid, but Kleba again, another dreadful game.
Tim Hardaway,
bad, just bad. Really, when his shot isn't going in, he's giving you next to nothing. And at the end of the fourth quarter, when it was a 6-point game, Celtics were trying to foul, and Hardaway gets an open three and just bricks it, doesn't even hit the rim. Like it's just disappointing.
Yeah, it really is. They even said on the broadcast, I think it was Doris Burke, because at that point I switched. I was going back and forth between broadcasts, and they were saying Tim Hardaway was like the third leading scorer on that team. And as soon as they say that, he gets a wide open three. And I'm like, okay, is he going to come in clutch? Because they were singing his praises. No, he bricks it. What happens like a possession or two later? He's coming on a fast break. Derek White's on him. I'm not good at layups. I'll fully admit that. But when you're driving in on your left side, you don't switch to your right hand when the man is on your right because it's easier to block. And it was a great Derek White block on him.
Yeah.
But they showed the slow-mo, and I'm like, he's going up with his left, or he's going to the left side, and Derek White's in between him and the basket on the right side, and he switches to the right to do a float. I'm like, why? Why put the ball right in front of his face?
Yeah, so Tim Hardaway, I think we might have mentioned it in the last couple episodes where, he had a great hot start to the season. It looked like he was going to be in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. Finished the season pretty cold. Ended the year averaging 14.5 points per game as their third leading scorer. But looking at his last 22 games, playoffs and regular season, he's scored over that season average mark of 14.5 points twice in his last 22 games. He's just not on a great rhythm right now. It's really his only good game in the last 2.5 months was that game 2 in OKC where he had 17 points. Besides that, he's really done nothing. And it's really difficult. And we haven't even mentioned really a lot about Kyrie Irving's great game. He bounced back and was fantastic with 35 points.
This was the best. I was going to say, we talked about Luka and how even though it looked like he had a good game, he did not shoot well. Kyrie shot well. And Kyrie was great. He played great. He played how they need him to play to win and have a chance. They need Luka to play a little better and shoot and take a little better shots and not foul out.
Be smarter.
Do you want to get into that now? Because I kind of want to talk about how bad that decision making was by Luka Doncic.
Yeah, let's get into it. You want to talk about the fouls in particular?
Yeah. Okay. So we all know, very critical of referees in general.
Yes.
But they swallowed the refs. They swallowed their whistles basically the whole game. Wasn't too bad. Doncic constantly whining for calls, naturally. Well, go into the fourth quarter, and he gets 3 quick fouls in the fourth quarter and fouls out. The fifth one, he
had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter.
I thought it was only 3. I must have missed the other one. Dang.
Yeah, to start the fourth quarter, immediately, the first play, he drove in and got called for an offensive foul.
Oh, that's the one I missed. I saw the other 3.
Barreling got called for an offensive foul. Actually, here, I'll show the fourth foul. This is one I mentioned in the pre-pod lobby.
Yeah.
Where early in the fourth quarter, he just reaches at the ball for no reason. Like, there's no need to foul right there. And I'm just thinking when he does it, like, dude, okay, it's 91-75 now. You were just down 21. You're starting to kind of make a run. This is a dumb foul to get when you don't even need to foul right there.
It's you really did not need a foul. And you're right. That is literally just the start. Because that fifth foul, he reaches in on Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown hooks him, but he gets called for the foul. I thought they challenged it, but it was just a Celtics timeout, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I was very confused.
We all thought that they challenged it, which would have been, like you said, just another stupid challenge by the Dallas Mavericks.
They had one in game 2.
Yeah, that just but they didn't. Doncic got his fifth foul again. He was whining so bad to the refs. He wanted them to challenge it, but he clearly had his hand in the cookie jar. And when they both went down, like, that's what's going to happen. But almost right after that blocking foul, and they wanted the charge, that when they challenged and lost, that's got to be one of the dumbest decisions I think I've ever seen Luka Doncic make.
Oh, to just go in and, yeah, absolutely.
You have, regardless of how you feel about those calls called and those fouls called, you cannot put yourself in that position to try to take a transition charge before half court, him not even hitting you directly in the chest. If you want to get called for a foul, like a charge, and take a charge in the first half of the court in the regular season, you got to be set for a minute. They got to hit you directly. It's got to be blatantly obvious, let alone the NBA Finals where they're calling it tight, especially this game where they're not calling fouls unless it's blatantly obvious, like that blocking was. You got to call something, but you can't call it a charge. And you put yourself in that position, and the game was, what was it, like 2 points, 4 points?
I mean, they were right back in. I think it was 93-90 for a good while there. No one could really make a basket. Yeah, from the 7:01 mark to the 3:37 mark, no one made a field goal.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to even think that would happen in an NBA game. But yeah, in that span, Luka picks up 2 of those fouls, those last 2 fouls, and I remember we were all together watching game 1, and I think it may have been Luka drawing an offensive foul at half court. It might have been him, it might have been someone else. I don't remember, but I remember someone drew an offensive foul at half court, and we were all like, dude, how many times do you see this happen? You never see it happen unless it's like a illegal screen, which did happen a couple times, but that's like the most common thing. You rarely get like an actual block charge or an actual charge, called at half court.
Yeah, they don't even call that in 2K. I know people try to do that all the time in 2K and like, hey, right when you turn, I'm going to do it. They still call that a blocking foul. Like, come on. Like, you just got to be smarter, Luka. You really do. Like, you're one of the best players in the NBA. Probably the most talented player in this finals. And you're taking yourself out of the game. You can't do that if you want to be compared to the greats. You're as talented as you are. Whenever we talk about the greats and we talk about LeBron, Michael, Kobe, it's the mentality, it's the basketball IQ, it's making the players around you better, and it's making the right play. You can't, and especially against the Celtics, you just have to play perfect. You can't take yourself out. It was truly disappointing how that ended.
It almost seems like it's like the Mavericks are kind of having an opposite go of what the Timberwolves had against the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, where we were talking like, okay, whichever duo plays better is probably going to win the game. And in that series, the Mavericks duo, they were elite in that series. For in all 4 of their wins, their duo played better than the Timberwolves of Cat and Anthony Edwards. In this series so far, it's only been one or the other. It has not been both guys. In the first 2 games, it was Luka, and we were like, Kyrie's choking. He's missing all these shots he normally makes. He keeps losing the ball. In this game, he plays fantastic. He plays about as well as he could probably play. I mean, there were a few layups that he still missed that he would probably want back, which you're still ready to see. But he played. I didn't even realize this. He played every second of the second half in this game. Kyrie Irving did.
Yeah.
He was great. Luka Doncic did not show up. And those mistakes, I've mentioned it so many times, where, the Celtics, you have a little room for error there if you're the Boston Celtics because you have so many great players. When you're a team like the Dallas Mavericks that's so reliant on 2 guys, you can't have one of them having a bad game with all these mistakes.
It's the mistakes for me. It's the decision making, and we mentioned it in the pre-pod lobby. We put this loss pretty much on Luka, or at least a majority of it, I would say, just because your team is coming back and you take yourself out. You were within 10 points. If you're within 10 points in the last 2 minutes of a game, and you have players as talented as Kyrie and Luka, you have a chance to win the game. You truly do. And he fouled out with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah,
what else are you gonna do? Kyrie still made a couple baskets after that. Kyrie was still trying to hold it together.
He did. It was Kyrie's moment. He made a pull-up shot. He made a couple free throws. Derek Lively had a couple big-time offensive rebounds, had a few dunks inside. I think the big play that we should probably talk about, I'm curious to hear what you think, is, Jaylen Brown makes the pull-up shot. They go up for PJ Washington, misses an open corner 3 at the other end. And then Horford loses the ball in the front court. It goes back to the Mavericks. They're down 4 with 42 seconds to go and a chance for a 2-for-1. And Kyrie goes one-on-one against Horford and settles for a step-back 3 to his right from the right wing, which is a shot that we've seen him make time and time again. Doesn't matter which jersey he's been in. He's made that difficult shot so many times, but down 4 with plenty of time to go, they could have gotten a 2-for-1 situation, and he settles for that shot. I mean, Joey, what did you think about that decision there from Kyrie?
I was screaming at my computer. I had the same thing. I'm like, you got 40 seconds left. Take it to the hole. Do something. Get an easy shot. Yeah. You don't need a 3. He's just dribbling. They're dribbling. 10 seconds go off. I'm like, well, now you need a 3. Well, now you need a 3. You let too much time go off. And then I saw Kyrie do that. I'm like, hey, if he makes it, sorry, you're still down 1 with the shot clock off now.
Which it still gives you a chance, but
it's not a great one. It puts way too much more pressure on you, regardless if he made it or not. It's, to me, not a great decision.
I think,
however, especially since he missed it, it's clearly much worse.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where I think it might be Stan Van Gundy who always says, the story gets written when the ball's in the air or whatever. Because if Kyrie made that shot, it's like, oh my gosh, what another ridiculous shot from Kyrie in his career. Mavs still have a chance, but of course he misses, and it's like you could have gotten a better shot there. He's one of those players that you definitely have to live with his makes and misses. He's just one of those types of players, and it's difficult because of this sort of stage. I know there was a similar moment. I know it kind of stinks for Cavs fans. I know obviously he made that crazy, that shot in 2016 Game 7. The next year, 2017 Game 3, Kevin Durant makes the pull-up 3 to give the Warriors lead, and then Kyrie settles for another tough 3 when they didn't need it in that situation.
Yeah, he wants to make the flashy show, and I get it. You can make it. He's made it for us, but it's the same thing for Luka. He was doing all these step backs in this game, and he just wasn't making it. Again, Kyrie was shooting much better, so I trust him a little more. But like I said, even if you make it, I still don't. You have to foul them. If they get it to one of the good free throw makers, they're going to hit both free throws. They're going to be down 3, and then you have to make that shot again. Like you got lucky once to hit it. Can you do it again?
Yeah,
either way, it didn't happen. But like, still, it's just not a good decision. You could have gotten a much easier shot attacking without KP there. What we said right in the very beginning: attack when KP's not there. Since KP may be out because what was it, a rare torn thing in between his injury?
Yes, a torn medial. I don't know how to pronounce this. Retinaculum. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's unrelated with his calf injury. But according to Woj, he is in a little bit of doubt to return this series. And while it may only be one other game, if the Mavericks can extend this, that definitely could be a big thing. But of course, the Celtics, they've been winning without him, so it hasn't really made much sense.
What I will say is, even if the Celtics sweep, I don't want anyone to say, oh, well, KP wasn't that important to this team. Dude was the main reason they won the first 2 games.
He could have been the front runner for Finals MVP.
He was definitely top 3 before he missed today's game. After those first 2 games, regardless of him scoring, like we talked about, Andre Iguodala won it just for slowing down LeBron. KP's defense was just too good on the interior. Kyrie and Luka were settling. They had it in the bag just from him being out there and being a presence on the inside. That is huge in itself. I don't want anyone to knock KP outside of maybe him being injury prone, because that's a legit question. But regardless, I don't want, because Goglin's going to come back and say, Goglin's going to come back. Well, KP clearly didn't mean that much. They would have won without him.
Oh, I probably would say that. But talking about the Celtics, I think they deserve some credit for really closing this game out, because this was a very tough scenario as well that they kind of put themselves in as well. It's a 1-point Mavericks lead at the half. The Celtics dominate their way to start in the third quarter, and then to start the fourth quarter, they go up 91-70. And, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is over. This is so disappointing. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. We've seen the Celtics here before, and they usually result right back to their ISO play, and they do the thing where they just don't play the way that they played to get themselves to this point. And it happened. Peyton Pritchard isolation mid-range shots that don't fall. Jaylen Brown step backs. Jason Tatum step backs. Turnovers. And the Mavericks get into the paint. They start making some threes. And it's right back down to, 3. They had it down to, a one-possession game within 4 minutes of them going down 21 points. And we've seen all season the Celtics, over the last few years, they lose games to, I know ones I remember the most are the Cavs, the Hawks. There are certainly some other ones as well where they had big leads. The Nuggets, where they just stopped playing, their, that normal brand of Celtic basketball where they're moving the ball.
When we did our finals preview of the series, that was one of my concerns and why I held Dallas above them, because we've seen it all year about the Celtics maybe dominating, but blowing it in the fourth quarter. And with the Mavericks, with Kyrie and Luka being such clutch players, especially in the fourth, I just had a feeling, and I knew no matter what score you're at, you need to close it out. They eventually did do that, but you're 100% right. As soon as I saw it dwindling out, I was like, it was going to happen eventually. I knew they wouldn't be able to just dominate all the way.
Yeah, and they turn it on when they needed to, and a lot of that goes to Jaylen Brown, who had those big plays down the stretch. Derek White had 7 points I think 5 points in the final few minutes. Some big 3-point shots.
Huge shots.
Continues to be incredible for the Celtics.
And then we got to mention what our Goglin's favorite player tweeted, saying, "Did the Bucks just hand the championship to the Celtics?" And you can say, well, maybe because they were hurt and maybe they would have met them in the finals. I personally think it was all about Drew Holiday, because Drew Holiday is the glue for that team. He really is. He is one of the most important players on that team. His consistency on the defense, on the offensive end. He was making insane passes. He was making good shots. He was hitting he literally does everything out there that you want him to do.
He's in these playoffs. Drew Holiday is averaging 13.6 boards, 4.5 assists, but the shooting splits 51 from the field, 40 from three, and 95 from the free throw line in the playoffs. And that's not even considering his incredible defense.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Like I mentioned in the pre-pod lobby, I don't think the Bucks knew what they were doing. Of course, Damian Lillard, get Damian Lillard all you want. They could be in this position next year. That could be a great that could end up being, a huge pickup for them down the stretch. But I don't think they expected Drew Holiday to come right back to their conference and now winning a championship the next season.
Nope. I think they were like, hey, Drew, great job. We'll put you to a team that you'll be happy with and contend with. But don't worry, we'll beat you. You're not going to make it again. You got your best years with us. All of a sudden, it's like Drew Holiday's like looking at it's like his past ex and like, look what I got. Look what I got. This is what we call an upgrade.
Yeah, we'll send you to Portland. They'll throw you somewhere, and they throw him to Boston.
That's what we call karma. I heard it on the Unplugged, and I'll pose it to you because it's very interesting because maybe stat-wise I don't agree, but the accolades kind of speak for themselves. Kevin Hart says that Drew Holiday is a Hall of Famer, and he asked Cuttino Mobley that, and he said, no doubt.
Ooh. Now
it was a debate with there was a group of his friends that were there too, and it was a debate between all of them. But what do you think about that? I think it's a tough case, but because the stats don't scream at you, but all defensive teams, all-star teams, championship teams, he's kind of got the accolades to go along with what you see usually in a Hall of Fame resume.
Yeah, you've never really seen I've never really heard that. I've never really thought about that before. You never really think about that until this sort of situation where if the Celtics go on to win the finals, which they're up 3-0, no one's ever come back from 3-0. Most likely they'll win it. He'll be a two-time champion, two-time All-Star, six-time All-Defensive Player.
Yeah.
While there are a lot of those years where he easily could have made the All-Star game if he was in a different conference. Those years in New Orleans. Those back-end years with New Orleans, he definitely could have been an all-star. He could definitely be way more than a two-time all-star. He's improved his offensive game tremendously from where he started. He's became a 20-point-per-game scorer. He was just an all-star last year.
Yeah.
And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for really sacrificing his game for the betterment of the Boston Celtics. And just to basically become a spot-up shooter and a ball mover. When you get the ball passed to you, shoot it, pass it, drive it, and then guard one of the two best defensive players because you pair him with another one of the great defensive guards over the last few years in Derek White. And he's just absolutely thrived, and he stepped up when they've needed him to. I think that's a very interesting question. And with the guys that have made the Hall of Fame, with how you could say lenient the NBA is on Hall of Famers getting in, you could definitely make a case that Drew Holiday could be in the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it like I said, it's definitely a case. And I was about to look at his stats, and it's catching my eye. It was his birthday, June 12th.
It was his birthday. It was his birthday.
It was literally his birthday, and he's playing on the finals and is playing super clutch.
34 years old, I think.
34 years old.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you think about it. I'm looking at the stats. It's like 16 points, 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists. Like, not crazy numbers, but dude, those.
He's going to be known as one of the 2-3 best defensive guards of his era
Mm-hmm.
to play, and he still averaged 16, 4, and 6 as either a point guard or an off guard, playing next to a bunch of stars throughout his career. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Drew's one of my favorites. Just got to shout him out. Like, he really has been so clutch for this Celtics team. What are we going to say more about the Celtics? They've been the best team. They're still looking like the best team. Anything else you want to add about the Celtics?
Now it will be on them to close it out. Game 4 is on Friday. Actually, tomorrow, as we release this, tomorrow night, 8:30 on ABC. Celtics looking to close it out, sweep their way to banner number 18. Let's go to Game 4 here. I guess first, do you think that the Celtics will close it out in 4 games in Dallas, or can the Mavericks extend this and force a Game 5 back in Boston on Monday?
I'm looking at my dog next to me, my dog Dallas, sleep next to me, and I really want to say Dallas is I'm holding out hope to at least get a game or 2 to push it to 6 games. I'm just not a believer right now. I don't think they can. They are a good team. They got good players. I really hope they can improve on it for next year. But at least right now, it's just not all coming together at the right time. It's just not. And I think just Boston, they know what they're doing. Especially, I think tonight was that big thing because talking about closing it out, I think this was the real confidence boost where they did almost blow it, but they still held out. And they're like, that was almost like a wake up, like, hey, we may be up, but like, we need to know that there's not going to be any quit. I do think they closed it out the next game, though. I think this was a huge wake up call just because of how close it ended.
I think that, I mean, in order for Dallas to win now, once again, they need Kyrie and Luka to both have great games together like they did the first 3 rounds. Because we've clearly seen if one of them is having an off game, they're just not going to have a chance. But it's something that kind of goes hand in hand with that is they need to play 4 full quarters of basketball in this series. When you look at the way this has gone, in game number 1, they get outscored by 17 points in the first quarter. The rest of the game, they only get outscored by 1 point the rest of the way through. Like, it's pretty even the rest of the way. That first quarter really kills them. In game 2, the second and third quarters, they get outscored by 6 in each of those. That equals to 12 points. The rest of the game was pretty even. And then this game, you get outscored 35-19 in the third quarter. The rest of the game, you outscored the Celtics by 9 points. It was just that one quarter that killed you. So they got to play 4 full quarters of basketball, and they need Luka and Kyrie to both play well together. Because I think that if they can both play the way that they are capable of playing, and even just if they can get one other guy, whether it's Lively or Washington or a random X factor off the bench to, give you 10, 13, 15 points.
Yeah.
That could be enough for a win. That definitely could be enough for a win. I'm not feeling the best about the Mavericks right now either, because I think, it's a tough situation, man. We'll see if they, decide to, really pack it in. They're already home. It's like, man, we really don't want to have to go back to Boston for a game 5. We're already home now. We'll see if they have the fight there in them. I think that, like you said, they will learn a lot from this. If it does end in a sweep, regardless if they lose the series.
What I remember seeing the stat, or they were talking about it beforehand, because everybody wants to compare Luka to LeBron and all that kind of stuff. Even I do it sometimes. But they were saying that Luka, 25, can he get his first championship? LeBron didn't get it until he was 27. But when we think about it, LeBron, when he was in his first finals, got swept by the Spurs. So Luka in his first finals getting swept could be a huge learning moment for him. Will be a huge learning moment for him if it happens.
I think regardless of comparing him to LeBron, this was going to be a huge learning moment for him because I think, you hear in interviews and all the time, he always talks about, I got to do a better job of, not complaining to the officials, not thinking about that the whole game. It hits different when it hurts you in the NBA finals.
It's just amplified because this is what you've been working pretty much your whole life for.
Yeah. So I unfortunately, I think it does end in a sweep. I hope it does not. I hope it doesn't. I want to see my Luka game winner in this. I want to see a vintage moment, but
if Dallas wants a chance at this, we need Philly to break out that outfit for the whole game this time.
Yeah, shout out to Philly, man. Yeah, my dad, he was in Dallas midway through the season, I believe. He stopped at a store and got this really cool Mavericks hat and this little Luka stuffed doll that Jackson just absolutely despises.
He chucks it across the room every time we see him.
Across the room. He didn't put it on until the Mavs were down by 21 points.
That's why I'm mentioning it because I was to say the people that are listening, I'm like, we were in our giant pick'em chat. We get a text of Uncle Phil just all in the gear, and then all of a sudden, oh man, the Mavericks 10-0 run. Oh man, Mavericks are within 3 points. Phil, I am not taking this off. I am not taking this off.
He gets 22-2 run after he puts on the hat. It really is. It was just funny with that. But if the Celtics do end up closing it out in 4 games, who is your Finals MVP?
Ooh.
Do you think? There are a couple guys that it could be. It may be. I mean, it may all come down to who really performs well in Game 4 in the closing performance. I think it's pretty hard not to go with Jaylen Brown at this moment.
Really?
In my personal opinion. But what do you think?
I was personally thinking Tatum. I think Brown has been fantastic. And Tatum, again, when we look at the first game, he wasn't the greatest. It was really KP having 20 plus, Jaylen Brown having 20 plus. That really helped them win that first game. But today, Jaylen Brown wasn't having it going. And Tatum really kind of carried the load until Brown got it going. Now, if Brown completely goes off and Tatum maybe has another game like he did in Game 1, 100% I think it's going to Jaylen Brown. However, if it's like another performance like today where they're both pretty similar, and like I said, I thought Jaylen Brown – I didn't even know Jaylen Brown had that good of a game until like in the fourth quarter. It was like, hey, he's got 30 points. I'm like, I swear he just had like 10. But Tatum, like you knew he was going off just from the start of the game. If that happens, I think Tatum gets it again. Even if they finish around, because realistically, I still think Tatum had the better game.
It is super close when you look at their counting stats. So 3 games in the finals, Tatum's counting numbers are 22 points, 9 boards, 7 assists, all around numbers. But those shooting percentages, I think, could turn voters off a little bit. He's shooting 36% from the field, 30% from 3 on 9 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely could turn voters off if he has another game, or even if it's solid, but his numbers still look like 39 from the field, 30 from 3. If you look at Brown, he's putting up 24 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 55 from the field, only 25 from 3 on 7 attempts, which is not good. But that means that on his 2-point attempts, he's shooting 76% on 2-point shots, which they're not all just layups and dunks. I mean, I know all the highlights are going to be of his crazy dunks that he's had in this year, because he's had like 1 or 2 in each game. But he's taking difficult mid-range fadeaways and pull-ups, and they're going down at a 76% clip right now. I think that if that continues in Game 4, and he has the big clutch moments like we saw in this game, I think that'll get him the MVP, which will cause for some very interesting discussions this offseason about Brown versus Tatum, even though it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But it's like Tatum was the was definitely the better player. The regular season has been the better player, probably their whole careers. But Brown wins conference finals MVP and finals MVP. That's a little interesting.
I was about to say that conversation is probably already happening. Man gets paid as like one of the highest paid player in the league, and then he plays like it in the playoffs when you need him to. There's definitely going to be conversations, especially if he wins the finals MVP. And again, it doesn't matter, but all the media people, us, we're going to be like, hey, whose team really is it? Does it matter? No, they just won a championship.
Oh my goodness! Do you have any bold predictions you want to say for Game 4? We've been doing it all series long. You got any bold predictions that you think will happen in Game 4?
I'm going to say one that I don't think will happen, but I would absolutely I'll go buy a lottery ticket if this happens.
Oh boy.
Drew Holiday drops a 30-point triple-double in this game, in the fourth game. They win, and he goes on to win the finals MVP.
He wins finals MVP. He'd be in play if that happened.
Hey, even right now, he's got to at least be like top 4, top 3 even, I would say. Yeah. Well, no, maybe not top 3. KP's probably 3.
Probably, I don't think anymore because he'll only probably 2 games.
But hey, Drew, like I said, I'm not the only one who's talking about Drew Holiday. He has a game like that,
when the last episode when Jackson and Ben were on, we were talking a front runner for Finals MVP, and he was definitely in the mix with Porzingis, and even Doncic through 2 games because his numbers were unbelievable on the losing team. Well, I think that Peyton Pritchard is going to score 15 points. And it's going to be I know.
Calm down there, hot shot. That is too bold.
No, I'm saying this because I think it's really funny that through 3 games, Peyton Pritchard has 3 points. He's 1 for 13 from the field, 1 for 9 from 3, and his only make was that buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter of Game 2. That's his only finals make in this series.
So what you're saying is he is due.
I'll up it. He'll have 21 points.
I was about to say, dude, 5 threes? I've seen Peyton Pritchard do that in a half.
That is very fair. But we're all hoping that this is not the final game of the season. Hopefully the Mavericks can extend this. But Boston, they've been so dominant. They haven't lost in such a long time since our Cleveland Cavaliers did it in a good old.
We don't even have to talk about it. We could talk about it maybe next time. I saw some news about the Cavs, about their head coaching. They got some people visiting head coaches. I saw a report saying that they don't plan on trading any of our 4 core, and that's something I want to talk to you about another day because I got some opinions about that.
I'm loving all the reports I'm hearing so far about the Cavs. But going on to some quick, I guess some sad news. Unfortunately, we woke up this morning to the sad news that the logo, Jerry West, has passed away at age 86. I believe. A long life lived. Just a huge influential, basketball personality. Like we were talking in the pre-pod lobby about how he, whether it's been as, the great player that he was, a coach, a front office executive, he has been a part of huge basketball teams for 8 different decades, which is just incredible to think about. But it really is true with his work that he did for the Lakers as a player and coach, and then the Warriors, and most recently the Clippers in the front office. But rest in peace to Jerry West for sure.
Jerry West, what a legend. Don't have many highlight tapes of him, but what you see is, well, you say what you want. He was one of the most skilled players at that time, going up right against Bill Russell every single year. And we know how great Bill Russell is. And again, like you said, he is the only person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a player and as an executive. And I think he's now going to be inducted a third time as a contributor.
Yeah.
So he'll be the only person to do that as well. So truly just one of Mount Rushmore of NBA. You could talk Mount Rushmore of greatest players, but when you're specifically talking about the game of basketball and the National Basketball Association, Jerry West has to be on that Mount Rushmore. He is literally the logo of our league.
He's literally the logo. I mean, everywhere you look at the NBA, you're gonna see him. You're gonna see him, and he's an absolute legend. Any way you think about it. So, a lot of thoughts out to the West family and all that with Jerry West. But like I said before, great life lived, an irreplaceable hole in the basketball world, you could say, because of how much he really did for the game.
Yeah, he was. If you were retiring jerseys for just like you have the names, he would be retired probably throughout the league almost. Honestly, since they did it for Bill Russell, I would not be surprised if they did like a Jerry West. Maybe in the like, for example, if they change the logo, because we've heard that before. If they change the logo, maybe to have his ever long lasting legacy, you just have him retired the jerseys and everywhere.
Yeah,
It's definitely a possibility. Everyone loved him. If you played against him, you hated him because he was a mad trash talker. But he's the only player to win NBA Finals MVP on a losing team. So we're never going to see that again.
Probably never going to see that again. We were having that discussion in the pre-pod lobby, and we both agreed that if LeBron James couldn't win Finals MVP back in 2015, it's not going to happen unless maybe someone has a superhuman performance like LeBron did and it goes to 7 games, then maybe you can have a discussion about that. But it's hard to see that really happening. So many different things would have to go in that particular player's way for that to happen. I don't even think that the player winning the award would even want it in that case.
I was about to say, I love the show Winning Times on HBO, talking about the Magic, Lakers, and all that, and how it got started and all that kind of stuff. And they showed Jerry West, and I'm assuming he had some input on it. And they showed him how much he truly gave no craps about winning that trophy, like the finals trophy. He's like, whoop-de-doo, I got that. Like, I got 1 ring, and Bill's got like 10. Like, what is this trophy gonna do me? Man only wanted to win. Ultimate competitor. There's nothing else you could say other than just cross up Jesus when you're up in heaven, honestly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess the only other real current NBA news that really happened, we talked about a couple episodes ago when the Lakers offered UConn head coach Dan Hurley that we heard that he was their front runner and they were going to meet with him. Since then, they offered him a 6-year, $70 million offer to come coach the Lakers. And Dan Hurley rejected the offer. He's going to stay at UConn to chase the 3rd straight national title there at UConn. And, Joey, what do you think about Dan Hurley staying in college? I think we all thought that he was going to be in a win-win situation regardless of what he did.
Yeah, he definitely was set up for immediate success with just being a Laker. Like, you clearly have LeBron, or you're going to have LeBron. You have AD, you have really talented squad. You want to be a contender right away. And then you have the pick of the litter when you're rebuilding. You can rebuild it how you want it. So he really had a good situation going into the NBA and getting all the money. However, I'm super stoked that he's staying in college. I think the money-wise, I think just with March Madness and NIL money, like I know all the college kids are getting it, which means they're going to bring in more sponsorships for everybody. And being a 2-time champ already coach is going to bring you so much money just for the commercials and sponsorships. But if he keeps doing it, who knows where he's going to go. Man's going to be up there with Gino Auriemma for UConn women, and then Mike Krzyzewski. Like, he is going to be one of the great college coaches. You can already tell.
It really is, and he is going to even. We mentioned that he wants to go to the NBA at some point. If that door ever opens up again, I'm sure teams would love to have him come in, and he would. Maybe if it was a different year at UConn and they didn't just win 2 straight titles, he might have gone after that job in the NBA. But I mean, it's not much better than going back to a team that you just a program where you just took them to 2 national titles. So I think that good decision there for Dan Hurley. He was going to be in a winning situation either way. Obviously, it's a tough loss for the Lakers because now you have to, he was your front runner. Your front runner for the open coaching position, regardless of what other reports may say. He was their front runner coach, and now you have to go back to all these other coaching candidates who were your second options and try to pitch them, this idea once again and say that you really want them in as a coach. It's a difficult situation, but
it's JJ's turn. That's all I'll say. It's JJ's turn.
Yeah, we'll see if he ends up taking the job. I know something similar happened with Stan Van Gundy with the Orlando Magic. Second time I mentioned SVG. Shout out to
Orlando Magic.
But they had hired Billy Donovan from Florida, and Stan Van Gundy was the runner-up. But Billy Donovan went back to Florida, and Stan Van Gundy ended up going to the Magic. And at the press conference, the Magic GM at the time said something like, "Yeah, we were looking at 2 really great head coaching candidates, and at the end of the day, we hired both." So look at these coaching candidates for the LA Lakers.
Oh man! Hey, shout out Billy Donovan and my Florida Gators.
Go Gators! But yeah, it looks like according to ESPN, that James Borrego is going to be expected to remain among the Lakers candidates, as well as JJ Redick. James Borrego is really, really linked with the Cavs. Both of those sides are really enamored with each other and the ideas there. So that could really open up the door for maybe Borrego to the Cavs, Redick to the Lakers. We'll probably have those hirings coming out in the next couple weeks. So it should be a very interesting offseason, across the league, especially if all these open coaching positions are filled before the draft.
The coaching carousel is heating up.
Yes, it most certainly is. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to see it all play out. Next episode for the Run in the Paint podcast will be up on Saturday morning. We will be recapping Game 4 of the finals, either previewing Game 5 or recapping the series and the Celtics' incredible season.
Hopefully that might be a live one. Since it's a Friday, I don't work the next day. I could definitely drive all the way out to you, and we can do another live one. Maybe I'll shoot better too.
Oh yes, I do have to. I will get into editing we did a 3-point contest and a 2v2 game. We might be able to record a few more of those as well. That I'll eventually I'll get up to the channel.
Yeah, quick disclaimer on that. I shot terrible. I'll even admit it. I did not shoot like how I used to shoot. I clearly need to get back in the gym.
Hey. Oh my goodness. Well, all the fans out there, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA Finals content. Leave a comment with your thoughts on these finals. So far with Game 3, the Celtics taking the 3-0 lead. This news on the Lakers and Dan Hurley going back to UConn. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.